Now, the classical Romans and Greeks had gods and goddesses for every aspect of life. The ancient Hindu religion tells tales of the exploits of many deities, which still bear lessons for believers today. But Christians, Jews, Muslims are required to believe in just one God. Are many gods better than... Good morning again, Jay. How are you doing?
Good morning. Hi there.
Yeah, many gods better than one. Now, Hinduism is an incredibly interesting religion.
Indeed.
I've been read about it a lot over the last week or so.
Indeed.
Very complex, very flexible, and very many people believe many different things.
Indeed.
But some of whom believe in many gods and goddesses.
Indeed. You see, Hinduism is sometimes misunderstood to be a polytheist religion. Means believing in lots of ultimate realities. This is a contradiction in terms. You can't have more than one ultimate because it's not ultimate enough. Hinduism has never been a polytheist tradition. It has always been a very mature, pluralistic tradition. Not many gods, but many ways to relate to the idea of spirituality. It can incorporate monotheism, means accepting one supreme personality. It can incorporate non-theistic approaches as well as non-religious approaches for making spiritual progress. This is called spiritual democracy, and the lovely word is religious pluralism. Many pathways for exploring spirituality.
So it's to say there is one ultimate supreme being.
Not being, we say it's a principle that underpins this reality, which is essentially spiritual rather than material, that manifests itself at different layers, at the material level, and this demarcation between, if you like, man, God and universe is very artificial. It is time we demolish this artificiality.
Is this the way out? Is this the way out for the Church of England out of their current problem?
In fact, the debate...
Earlier on, you think they were talking about different gods.
I'm listening to Jay and thinking, gosh, perhaps I'm a Hindu and I...
In fact, the word pluralism in a way resolves the issue of intra-faith dialogue as well. Forget about interfaith, intra-faith dialogue. Because this is the way I relate to the idea of spirituality. This is the way you relate to the idea of...
So there are different aspects to...
Different ways of relating to the idea of spirit.
Supreme power,
ultimate reality.
And there are different ways of seeing that supreme power. The supreme power has many different faces and relating to
In fact,
Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva,
whatever, and as a principle even, not as a personality, as a principle that underpins reality called spirit. So in a way, this gives freedom for different people, depending on their own temperament, to relate to the idea of spirituality suited to their own temperament.
And some are goddesses too.
Indeed, why should God always be a father? Mother goddess is my lovely idea as well.
And Ashley there are many different types of paganism as well. You're a pagan belief, and you're a witch as well. So many different. Well,
yes, I am.
It's not a problem.
That's all right.
On a Sunday morning here. Lots of gods and goddesses.
Yes. Can I distinguish between witchcraft and paganism? That witchcraft is a religion. Paganism is an umbrella term for a lot of different beliefs and religions.
Yeah.
So paganism is simply the belief that all things are part of the natural world. And all aspects of that natural world have a non-physical part of their being through which they're connected.
So your life force is Mother Earth, that sort of thing?
Yes, that's true. Yeah. And we're all related and connected through our non-physical being. Whereas a religion is a set of practices designed to follow a particular spiritual path. So paganism encompasses a variety.
Brahman in Hindi, Mother Earth to you. So
could it be the same thing? It's very possible.
Well, it has to be, doesn't it? If it's true, it has to be.
If there is a fundamental reality, as Jay says,
a
fundamental underlying reality, then yes, it's possible. And because of that, then possibly by approaching divinity from different angles and personifying it in different ways, then one is actually personifying the same overall divinity, in which case monotheism is not precluded from paganism either, in the same way that Hinduism doesn't necessarily preclude polytheism.
One more, Chris, as well. What are the advantages of what are the disadvantages of pure, unadulterated monotheism? One God, Jay.
The problem is this: it creates fanatic behavior.
Because
you can have allegiance to one supreme personality. So it puts you at loggerheads with people of other religion as well as people of no religion. In fact, it also creates intra-faith issues, as you just noticed, because you become, if you like, the worst form of idolatry is idolatry of the book. Saying it's written in the book is not, you can't interpret it. Then you are in trouble.
I thought you two might come in here.
Well, Nicky, I had the great privilege of living in India for 6 years, and I dialogued with many Hindu leaders. The problem is this, that yes, about one ultimate reality, which means this world is a total illusion. It also means that certain people are born to a certain level of life and certain people are born to another level of life, and that is justified. And that means...
The caste system.
The caste system, and that means over a third of India's population of 1 billion are regarded as communicable social diseases, such that if I was a low caste person and my shadow felt on you, you would have to go and ritually wash yourself in order to continue to take part in society. Now, unfortunately, Hinduism went through a renaissance as a result of its engagement with Christianity in the 19th century. One of those who was a product of that was Gandhi, and Gandhi led the move for democratization, especially of the lower caste. So
Jay must answer.
Yes, he will. But I believe that this becomes a sort of angels on the head of a pin argument when it's divorced from the reality of the experience of this system for a huge number of people, 250 million
But
people.
is that because of the religion or because of cultural?
Yes. You see, this idea of vilifying Hinduism in the name of hereditary hierarchical caste system is same as saying Christianity is even, is idea of crusading, or Islam is idea of terrorism. An atrocity committed in the name of religion cannot be used in order to remove this kind of marvelous broad vision of Hinduism. So idea of kind of vilifying Hinduism in the name of caste, hereditary hierarchical caste system had never any sanction of authority from the scriptures of authority of Hindus.
We live in a society with many gods. They're called mobile phones, iPods, flash cars, bankers' bonuses. These are the gods that prevail in our society at the moment. And some people would criticise Christianity for having three gods.
Yeah, the Holy Trinity.
Father, Son,
it's
and
a problem
Holy Spirit.
for Abraham.
But I think the real issue is actually how the different faiths actually interact and work together for the common good.
We heard earlier on in your discussions with our friends there, with Chris and with Alison. It was like hearing about different gods.
It's troubling. It's troubling to me.
This is precisely the point. There are different interpretations.
You were talking love, and she was talking love, but also judgment.
Yeah, there are different interpretations, and we move forward in different ways, and that's why I believe the Christian Church should have the profoundest of respect for other faith traditions and recognise that they experience God, ultimate reality, ground of being, whatever words we want to use, through their own particular traditions, and humanism as well.
Milo,
and it's important that we make that recognition and not think that one particular religion trumps every other religion.
Correct.
Christianity sees God through the person of Jesus,
I'm
but
sorry.
we shouldn't take that to an arrogant position.
From a religious leader, that is the most absurd thing to hear from a religious leader, that we shouldn't think that one religion trumps the others. Obviously, you have no interest in whether Christianity has a claim to truth or not. I mean, that seems ridiculous.
You're Catholic, aren't you?
Yeah.
What about? Some look at Catholicism and think the Virgin Mary is almost like a kind of quasi-goddess in some ways.
There is a
We've got 4,500 saints. 60 of them are called John.
I actually, there's a lot of them. I can only ever remember about 10. I actually quite like the idea of polytheism. My only concern with it is that when you have this cluster, this sort of package of gods from which you can choose at various points in your life, and you can structure your belief, your belief systems as you go through life according to your, to your preferences. My worry with it there is that you are then selecting your gods and you're choosing your religion rather than the other way around. And I think we have to, I'm really very horrified by statements like this. That religion should not aspire to talk about the truth. It should simply try to do good with everybody.
But maybe we are merely scratching the surface of the truth.
Seems like an incredibly defeatist.
I want to bring Abraham in. I think we have to move to another great monotheism.
I just want to challenge you on the idea of that if you believe in one God, somehow it's going to make you a horrible, intolerant, fanatical person. I don't agree with that. You've just made an example of intra-faith dialogue. Imagine an intra-God dialogue, and the whole world would come. There'll be chaos all over the world.
Suggesting,
yes, all the gods and goddesses.
What I'm suggesting is something most of the astute thinkers of recent times have repeatedly pointed a finger at monotheism.
I agree with you. I
like
absolutely
David
agree
Hume
with you.
Solano, Toynbee, Russell. They always pointed a finger at monotheism for producing fanatic behavior in the name of religion. And if you look at the history,
but there's a lot of fanatic behavior in faiths that
I agree.
Of non-religious people as well.
And all beliefs across that. And I don't think any of us can put our hands up and say we're not.
I agree.
But what excites me is to hear what you say is that there has to be one ultimate reality, and that you say that we are connected in a non-physical way all of life, because that's what Christians believe. I believe we're connected, but I call our connection the Holy Spirit, and I think everything that exists, animals, people, everything is enlivened and here because of the Holy Spirit.
1 second. Do you pray to God or do you pray to Jesus?
I have one God, and it's like a finely cut crystal. There will never exhaust the
infinitude of the divine.
Christians see and experience God through the person of Jesus.
I come through Jesus.
Peter.
Can we talk about the greatest monotheist, if you like, that ever existed, and that is Jesus Christ? He clearly believed that the Lord, the God of Israel, was God. And what kind of behaviour did that produce? Did he kill people? No, he laid down his own life for his people. There's no other God that has laid down his life for his people.
Can I say something?
That's the kind of behaviour.
The important thing to recognize is
self-sacrifice.
when any spiritual personality was presenting his idea of spirituality, it was geared for the society he was living in. So the metaphors, the language he used was very suited to that time, to those people, not necessarily for the modern secular society. And this ability to move forward and evolve with the times and recognize the deeper idea of religion, which is at the spiritual level, is the way forward. So I'm promoting spiritual humanism in contrast to any religious
Peter Tatchell wants to come in. Peter, sorry. Ashley, in a minute. Peter.
Far from taking the view that many gods are better than one God, I would say that no God is better than any God. I absolutely respect and defend people of faith who are being persecuted. I work to help support Christians in Pakistan who are being persecuted, Sunni Muslims who are being persecuted in Iran.
Wherever you see persecution.
But at the end of the day, I think that reason, rational argument, scientific knowledge is a better way to understand the world than the superstition of religion.
Actually, I don't believe in superstition. I think we're all part of a natural world, therefore there's no supernatural. But let me just say that what I've noticed here is that we're dealing with the difference between spirituality and religion.
Yes.
And Jay's talking quite a lot about spirituality, even from the perspective of a religion, and myself in the same way. But let me also say that what we've been talking about earlier is some morality issues and ethical issues, and it's the matter of whether the state gets itself involved in what people do as well as what they believe. And maybe the religions and the spiritual people of the world might think about stepping back and dealing with what people believe rather than the way they act upon those beliefs. And we can all have a discussion about the whole thing.
Determine behaviour. Beliefs should determine
They
behaviour.
should and they do, and that's why religion should be involved in helping people develop.
You believe the only way to eternal life is through Jesus Christ, don't you? So the millions of people the world over are condemned to what? Because they don't believe in Jesus. What are they condemned to?
Well, they're condemned to eternal death, punishment from God. That's
No,
what the Bible
eternal
teaches.
life.
Well, there's the love of God.
Sorry?
There's the love of God. If there is an ultimate reality, and that ultimate reality is somehow responsible for everything that is, it's a pretty mean thing to actually do that, I think. And that's why Peter, I think Peter's dichotomy is an incorrect one. I think it's a both and, not an either or.
Sorry.
I just want to make 2 points. I lived in India for a year doing voluntary service overseas. It was fascinating to see the various gods. And when you came to the pujas, or the sort of celebrations, the goddess Kali, for example, the goddess of death, you see people hack down a piece of tree, make their god, then they have loads and loads of smoke. You almost see, because of all the people and the working up the people, that the thing can move. After the puja, what do they do with the god? It's chucked in the river or chucked on the bonfire.
What's the difference between the body and the blood of Christ? I mean, there's
transubstantiation is something different.
No. I just believe that's done in remembrance of his death and passion.
Jay, 30 seconds. 30 seconds, Jay.
Vilifying another religion in order to score points for their own religion is not going to work in this modern day and times. It's necessary to look at the deeper ideas of religion and, in a way, not throw away the baby with the dirty bathwater and hanging on to the idea of spirituality. And I'm promoting the idea of spiritual humanism is the way forward.
The way forward. Thank you very much. That's all we've got time for. Next week we're at Birmingham for now. Goodbye from everyone here in Leicester. Have a great Sunday and may